safe for the kids that we send there. So the experts on this topic are ASHRAE, and I think it's up to each of us to do what we can to make our local school districts aware that we are ASHRAE members and that we have a plethora of really good resources to help provide guidance on the subject. So we'll try to get to that as quick as we can, because I think that's the meat of the presentation today. So with that, we're going to jump right in here and get a little audience participation going here, okay? In terms of knowing your association. First of all, did you know that ASHRAE has an office in Washington, D.C. with staff dedicated to establishing ASHRAE as a leading resource for expertise regarding the HVAC in our industry? So Megan's going to put up a little survey there, and you guys can check yes or no, and then hit submit, and we'll see how knowledgeable the Milwaukee chapter is about what we're doing at the national level in ASHRAE. Are we getting a good response, Megan? You're muted. Okay, thumbs up, good. I can read that. Okay, there we go. Looks like about 75-25. That's a pretty good understanding. So that's encouraging. All right, so moving on here then. So here I'm going to turn it over to Emily and let her share a little bit more about the staff that we have in DC and some of the work that they're involved with. So Emily, it's all yours.
Okay, thanks, Mike, and thanks, Victor, for the introduction. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of the DC staff and what our roles are, and then also, how we can assist you with government relations. So there's only 4 people in a DC office. Alice Yates is our director. Jeremy Pollack is the manager for federal government affairs. I'm the manager for state and local government affairs, and then Patricia Ryan is our office manager. And another important contact, if you weren't already aware, is Matt Jessen, who is an ASHRAE member and is the Government Affairs Committee regional chair for the region, including Wisconsin. So he's someone you can contact for materials or information as well. And the Government Affairs Update, this is a newsletter that our DC team puts together every 2 weeks that gives an update on any ASHRAE activities, any ASHRAE chapters that have had meetings with government officials, and also news updates relevant to ASHRAE and relevant to our industry. And so the link on the slide here is live, and so you can sign up there, or you can go to the ASHRAE website and see the link to sign up and see previous government affairs updates to get an idea of the items that are on there.
Emily, I'm just going to jump in here. I should have added a survey question on this particular topic to ask how many people are signed up to get this government affairs update. I've been in the regulatory role here for GreenHack now for about 4 years, and prior to that, I was doing sales and general management stuff within our business. I did not even know the ASHRAE government affairs existed, and I can tell you guys I get this government affairs update now. I'm on the distribution list for it, so it comes bi-weekly, and it is a really, really good document to just give a high-level overview of things that are affecting our industry, but then it also has some nice drill downs to let you get into more detail if you'd like to. So my hat's off to, I don't know, Emily, I'm sure you probably have some involvement in putting this newsletter together, but this is a tremendous resource for all of you. If you're not subscribed to it, I would highly recommend you click on this link and get signed up to to receive this. It's not going to be junk email. It's going to be real news. It won't be fake news. I trust it. It's good stuff.
So why is government affairs relevant to ASHRAE? This is mostly just kind of, for your information, and we don't have to go through all of this in detail, but primarily government affairs is relevant because that's how ASHRAE standards become adopted as policy. And ASHRAE's role in terms of providing expertise and technical information to elected officials can be really important in helping them make decisions about which policies to adopt or just helping them to understand the technical details. So, as you can see here, engineers can play a lot of different roles in terms of providing expertise to government officials.
So again, Emily, I'm going to jump in here and just reinforce some of what you shared here. I think most of you know probably the cornerstone of ASHRAE standards is 90.1. And when I got involved in this, this process, like I said, 4 or 5 years ago, I just thought everybody knew about ASHRAE 90.1. But the reality is, first of all, a lot of people don't know about it, and the ones who do know about it, if ASHRAE 90.1 does not get adopted by a state's building commission, it carries no weight whatsoever. So all the work that we're doing to build ASHRAE 90.1 and make it a premier document for the industry does nobody any good if states don't adopt it. And right now, I usually pull up a map that it looks like a collage, because we have states that don't have any energy code adopted. We have states that are still on like the 2010 or 2013 version. And the reality is, if everybody would get on the current version of 90.1, based on the studies that I think Pacific Northwest National Lab has done, PNNL, a building that's constructed in accordance with the 2016 version of 90.1 will use half the energy of that same building that was constructed in accordance with the original 90.1, which came out in 1975. And there've been exponential improvements over the past few years. So again, this is where the theme of this thing is we need local involvement to share this kind of information with our legislators and code officials, and that really starts with each of us at the local membership level.
So these, you'll see 6 of these here on the screen, and we don't really have time to go into each of them, but these are the public policy priorities for ASHRAE Society. And so every society year, there are new or updated priorities. And this is just to give the whole society an idea of the subjects that will be emphasized in, talking to government officials. And this applies, not only in the US, but also globally in ASHRAE's international chapters. And so this society year started in July, and this list here are the current priorities. And so obviously the indoor environmental health due to COVID-19 has really taken precedence over the others right now.
Yeah, these are in no particular order of priority, but I can tell you from my own experience at the beginning of the year, last July, when these were established, probably healthy buildings and reducing indoor environmental risk was probably one of the lower priorities. And obviously, as Emily said, that has jumped right to the top now for ASHRAE, I'm sure.
So government outreach events can include anything from just a one-on-one meeting between an ASHRAE member and a policymaker. It could include a kind of day on the Hill type of event that Mike will go into more detail about later. And it can also just include a specific conversation about a policy proposal or providing technical information or expertise that the official has requested. Of course, emphasizing that an ASHRAE member who is a constituent or a member of that public official's district will definitely carry a lot more, authority with that official because hearing from their own constituents, is the biggest priority to them. And providing technical information is an area where ASHRAE can really be of assistance, especially because a lot of policymakers and even their staff don't always have a lot of the same technical expertise. So in terms of setting up these meetings or figuring out which officials you should get in touch with, the government affairs staff can help with that. I can help with the state and local aspect, and Jeremy, as I mentioned before, can help with the federal government. So there's an email address to contact any of us in the office that's on this slide here.
And again, just to reinforce that, the staff in DC, they have a lot of really good one-page handouts that you can use to talk from or as leave-behinds if you get an opportunity to meet with one of your legislators or code officials. I can tell you again from my own experience, when I got involved, I had never ever called on a public, one of my legislators. It was a bit intimidating the first time that I did, or maybe first few times. But I can tell you this, just to reinforce this, the second bullet here. These folks love to hear from their own constituents, and they love to hear from people who aren't coming necessarily to ask for something. Having sat in the waiting room of some of these legislative offices, I can tell you their phones ring nonstop, and the phones, I would say 99% of the calls are somebody calling to complain about something that probably, the die is already cast and the legislator can't do anything about it anyway because the law is already in place or some decision's already been made. So the fact that, as ASHRAE members coming and just not having an ask, in fact, again, one of the first meetings I was in, I sat down and I started introducing myself and the staff member was kind of in a hurry and like, well, what do you want? I'm like, I don't want anything. I just want to introduce myself and let you know who ASHRAE is and that we're here as a resource on HVAC and R-type issues. And, it actually took a couple meetings before they kind of warmed up to what I was sharing, but now I was actually out golfing one time on I think it was a Friday, and I got a call from Representative Duffy, who was our local U.S. rep in the central Wisconsin area, and he had to vote on some bill amendment, and it had to do with something with HVAC. And the staffer calls me and says, hey, Mike, do you guys have an opinion on this or recommendation on how we should play this? So these people really do listen to you. I think it's very refreshing when they hear from people in their own jurisdiction. So again, the thing that I'm going to continue to encourage and hopefully, be a call to action at the end of this meeting is to, if nothing else, at least reach out and identify who your local representatives are and introduce yourself. So next question, knowing your local ASHRAE chapter, don't remember what this question is, but okay, did you know your chapter has a government affairs chairperson? And extra credit, do you know the name of your chapter's government affairs chairperson? So here's the survey up and see what kind of answers we get. Do you have a drum roll or anything, Megan? So when you pull this up,
I wish.
Yeah. All right, so not quite as positive here. We had 62% that knew that you have a government affairs chairperson. And then we have a couple votes for Trump and Biden, as we should expect this time of year. But Victor, it's good to know that most of your members do know that you are the Government Affairs Chair. Actually, the same number who knew that there was a Government Affairs Chair apparently also know who it is. So that's encouraging too. Cool. All right. So moving
And Mike,
on.
I did have a question come in.
Okay.
Basically, what if any tangible results have come from your Day on the Hill event back in March, right before the world was flipped on its head? And has there been any follow-up?
Great question. I would say I don't have any specific tangible results that I can point to on the subject. I will tell you that, you know, like anything, it's an ongoing effort, I think, before you might have an opportunity to see tangible results. I would say, again, kind of the example I just gave, at least this more from a federal level and a state level, is, you know, one of the tangible results is the fact that these people at least are aware of ASHRAE now. Our legislators are aware of ASHRAE, and they're aware of us as individuals and as chapter members within the state. So I strongly believe that they would reach out to us if there were issues they were looking for guidance on. Although I have not had a personal experience with that, but I think that would be the most tangible result we could expect at this point, just based on the two meetings that we've had. What was the second question, Kathleen?
I think you covered it. It was just, has there been any follow-up?
Oh, yeah. That's actually, I would say that's what this meeting is intended to do, is to create a situation to generate some follow-up to the two Day on the Hill events we've had in Madison, but do it at more of a local level. That's what I'm hoping comes out of this. I think we're all hoping comes out of these sessions. And if we didn't say so, we've given the same presentation to the Madison chapter, the Northeast Wisconsin chapter, and La Crosse, I think, is going to be doing a version of it next month. Also, I know that there are several La Crosse chapter members who have participated in the past two meetings, and I don't know if there's any La Crosse chapter members on this call today or not, but I think Chris might have invited his chapter to participate in this meeting as well if they have the opportunity. So, all right. So let's just talk a little bit about our Wisconsin ASHRAE chapters. As I kind of alluded to, there's four chapters in Wisconsin. Victor's the chair for your chapter down there in Milwaukee. Jason Boatman is the chair for the Madison chapter. Chris Shee is chair of the La Crosse chapter. And I've been chair now for a couple years up here in the Northeast Wisconsin chapter. But honestly, this is probably the first time in my couple years of being chair of the Northeast Wisconsin chapter where we've actually done this type of presentation to share in more detail what we're doing, what ASHRAE is doing from a government affairs perspective, as well as ask for members to engage in the process. So here's a little update on our 2020 Day on the Hill event. We did this back in, must have been shortly before COVID hit. I don't know, Victor, do you remember? I think this maybe we did this back in January even, so it might have been well before COVID. But we've got Chris here from La Crosse, Mark and Jeff. The next two here are from the Madison chapter. I'm in the back. Victor, Jason is from Madison. Tina's from the Northeast Wisconsin chapter. And then I think Paul here was from the Milwaukee chapter as well. So we had good representation from all four chapters. We had a really good, busy day. I met with 36 different Assembly and Senate staff members, and in some cases, we don't always get the actual legislator or senator to be there, but I know that the staff members are always very good at taking notes, and I'm sure confident they report back to their boss the information that we've shared with them. So if you're interested in locating your legislator, Wisconsin has a very good website that helps you identify that at this link here. And from a local chapter level, the Chris Shee down in La Crosse has probably done more than any of us other chapter chairs have done in engaging with local government officials. In fact, he was able to get with the city of La Crosse, and they developed a memorandum of understanding here relative to some energy type initiatives that the city would undertake, and their commitment to work with ASHRAE to get guidance on, from a technical expertise standpoint on energy related issues. So, that's the type of stuff that I think really starts to move the needle. The stuff we're doing, back here at the state level, this is good. But, the question that was asked earlier, what tangible outcome have we seen from this? There hasn't been anything specific to date, but when you get down at the local level, that's where you can really start to, I think, have a bigger impact. So next question, knowing your legislators, how many seats or members do we have in the Wisconsin Assembly, and how many seats members do we have in the Wisconsin Senate? Quick survey on this one to see. Test your fourth grade civics memory. At least I'm thinking it was fourth grade. I think that's when I made the trip to the Capitol, and I think that's when a lot of the schools teach this kind of stuff. All right, so we've got, answers kind of jump all over the board here, don't they? But the correct answer is we have 99 assembly members, so looks like 59 was a winner. So we've got to review our civics lessons a little bit. If you guys have kids in school, make sure that you get this right so you're not misinforming your kids. And Senate seats, we've got 33, so it looks like everybody, or majority of us got that one right. So, all right, so moving on here then to an ASHRAE overview. This is the kind of stuff that we shared with in the Day on the Hill event. This is one of the resources that are available from our staff in DC. They have some really neat handouts, kind of like this one here, that helps give an overview and some talking points when you're introducing yourself or introducing ASHRAE to someone who might not be familiar with our organization. It's founded, the things I kind of focus on are founded in 1894. And Megan, can you see my pointer when I'm pointing at things on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Then the other thing we really emphasize that we're 55,000 members worldwide, 130 countries, and the fact that we're all volunteer members really helps, reinforce the point that, we don't have a political agenda here. We're independent of any organization. We're not being paid to be part of ASHRAE. This is just, folks with an engineering background and technical knowledge who want to make the world a better place. So again, kind of go through the numbers here a little bit more on a local level. And then we get into, okay, so what types of resources are available from ASHRAE? Well, we have over 200 different standards covering everything from indoor air quality to energy efficiency in buildings. We also fund a number of research projects every year. And then, the areas in the industry that we serve in terms of people who use and leverage the guidelines and the standards we develop and the research that ASHRAE does. It goes everything from consulting engineers to contractors to manufacturers, sales representatives, government, health and education officials, and so on and so forth. So there's just a plethora of people who take value in, the things that ASHRAE does. Now this next slide is really too busy to even really talk about, but it emphasizes the fact, and it goes back to the slide that Emily shared on, what are ASHRAE's priorities. And as I said, the ASHRAE COVID indoor air quality thing has moved to the top of the list. And ASHRAE's just got a number of things going on there from a resources perspective. We have technical committees coming up with new guidelines all the time. We're doing training with regard to, things that building owners should be doing, developing literature, standards, guidelines, conferences, handbooks. But then we're also looking at, okay, what's going on within the built environment, from an operating systems perspective, from a maintenance perspective, energy recovery type issues that come into play, filtration, and the fact that some of the things that we're going to be doing to mitigate the COVID risk might end up resulting in more energy consumption within a building. If we go to, tighter filters or introducing more outdoor air, that's going to have an impact on the energy consumption in a building. And then, there's other things we're doing over here from the types of buildings. We get specific with schools, universities, healthcare, residents, and commercial type buildings. So again, there's a lot of resources that ASHRAE is working on and developing to help guide and provide good information to the industry on how to make their buildings safer. So there's really, I guess, two things. Again, the slide's too busy, but I think we need to look at it in two halves. We've got a website here that ASHRAE has, the ASHRAE Epidemic Task Force website, and then there's a one-page guidance here for opening or reopening schools. So the 41-page, the full presentation, and all the stuff in the in the website can be summarized in this 41-page document. So if you click on that, if you want to dig into that more, that's certainly an excellent resource. And I know it's being updated on a fairly regular basis, so it might be more than 41 pages now. But then if you want to kind of scale it back when we're talking to school officials or somebody who's maybe not as well versed on the subject as those of us in ASHRAE are, there's a one-page summary for reopening schools here. And this is the one where I think it would be good for us as local ASHRAE members to share this information, get ourselves familiar with the things that are in this document, and then share it with a school official. If you happen to know, it could be a teacher, it could be an administrator, it could be a school board member. I think it would be good to go and introduce yourself to those individuals and say, look, I'm a member of ASHRAE, here's some of the things ASHRAE is about. If you have this one-page thing here to kind of explain what ASHRAE is, and then say, hey, we've developed a really good guideline for reopening schools, something you might want to familiarize yourself with. And if you have more interest in learning more, certainly let me know, and I can put you in touch with the appropriate experts on the subject. So that's kind of where we wanted to segue to for the rest of the meeting here is break out into a little bit of a group discussion and just share ideas. How can we share these ASHRAE resources regarding COVID at the local level? And it doesn't necessarily need to just be the school level. It could be, I'm sure churches are probably asking the same thing. If you have, I know my mom, we just moved her into an assisted living facility here a couple weeks ago, and it's been a very, it's not been a real pleasant situation because she's had to be in had to be in quarantine for 2 weeks because of COVID. So she's not been allowed to leave the room. In 2 weeks, she's not been allowed to have visitors. And, I'm sure that the facility she's in could use some more information and guidance on how to make their building a safer place. So Megan, I'm going to turn it over to you. I think you kind of know how to run this technology and break us into smaller groups.
Yep.
So we'll break out for about 10 minutes, and then that should give us another 10 minutes to come back and recap from everybody, share a few things that come out of each group, and then be done on time at about 1 o'clock.
Perfect. Here we go.
I said, Megan, do you want to give me a thumbs up when we got everybody back in? It looks like most everybody's coming back pretty quick here.
Yep, we should be good to go now.
Okay, well, so how many groups did we have, Megan? Just 2? Oh, okay. Well, that was easy. So I guess I'll be the guinea pig here and go for our group. We didn't really elect me as a spokesperson, but unless somebody, Julian or Paul or Megan, you guys want to talk? Kathleen? Okay. All right, I'll go. So in our group, the things that we kind of talked about in terms of getting the word out is I guess we first started talking about who do we need to get the word out to, and the real focus there you need to get to the owners or the people who control the money for a given facility, and that's not always an easy thing to find, but I think if you ask a few questions, you can probably get that person identified relatively quickly. And then the second thing that we said, well, once we have that individual or that group of people identified, in the case of maybe a school, at least the 9 people in our session, we all agreed that we felt it was reasonable to go out and introduce ourselves to someone within our network, whether it's at the, maybe a school board level or administrator level. Paul has been doing some work with assisted living facilities, but reach out to those folks, introduce yourself, and let them know that we have resources available to help provide them some guidance. Julian in our group, he's been actually working on a task force with his kids' schools or his kids' school to cover this, to deal with this issue, and I'm sure he had a big influence on this. I think he said they've redirected about $2 million to put in some enhanced ventilation capabilities, some needlepoint bipolar ionization capabilities into every classroom. But, I'm sure that came about because they had a guy like Julian sitting on that advisory board who spoke confidently without necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for, other than making the environment better for his kids, didn't have an economic benefit to gain from this. I'm just assuming that, Julian, but the point here is that we can make a difference at the local level. I know that another one that came up is somebody mentioned they didn't even know all the resources that ASHRAE had out on their website, and simply maybe sending an email with that link to somebody they know within a decision-making role within a building or an organization would also be a good thing to do. So like I said, we came up with a number of things, ideas on how to get the word out, and hopefully each of us will take at least one of those tasks and take some action on it. So if anybody else wants to jump in from my group, fine. Otherwise, Megan, I'll let you turn it over to the other group.
Victor, Emily, do you want to present from your group?
So I can do that unless, Victor, you would like to. But we had talked about a few different things. So Gustavo had mentioned that the government affairs update, the newsletter that the DC office puts together could be helpful since he's responsible for putting together the chapter newsletter. And so that's something that, could be a resource in giving everybody a sense of what's been going on at the society level. And then also, in the other direction, like letting us know, if you have any meetings with officials or anything like that you would want to be included in our government affairs update. But then in terms of, contacting officials about COVID, we had a discussion about, what would be the right approach in terms of talking to school officials or school districts. Ashley gave a specific contact person that people could follow up with. And so I believe Victor might be doing that. And so I don't know if anyone else from the group has anything to add.
Yeah, no, I think the huge challenge here is, I actually brought this up, is just who do we contact at these organizations, and you know, so if anybody has recommendations or has any contact with some of these people at higher ups at these organizations, please let us know and pass them along to the chapters. So I think Victor would be the resource since he's the head of our government affairs. But yeah, I guess that's a huge challenge, is reaching out to the right people. Julian, can I ask you a question? Who did you reach out to at the school district?
So, well, obviously with the district my kids are in, I volunteered to be on the task force.
Mm-hmm.
At other districts, the conversations usually start with the director of facilities, or if we can get in with like the superintendent, because they're primarily the folks most concerned and in charge of coordinating all of the response plans. It's pretty common what I've seen in multiple school districts across 2 states. The interesting thing I'll share with you is, you know, similar to like how consumers adopt new technology, you know, there's your bleeding edge folks, there's your fast followers or early adopters, and then you have your group of laggards. Districts seem to be in the same boat. Some districts are very forward thinking, jumping ahead, adopting things quickly, and others are playing the wait and see game. Some even still are, you know, a little bit maybe on the hopeful side that this just goes away. So it be prepared for varied responses as you talk to different folks.
Yeah, that's kind of the concern that we're all kind of having with MPS is might not be as well organized as other school districts. But yep, exactly. Your point is well made, well taken.
Oh, and just as a clarification, in my kids' district, the 2 million, about half was HVAC related. The other half is related to, you know, supplies they went and bought and other spending that they had to do to implement all the protocols in place to combat the spread in the schools.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's excellent dialogue. I hope everybody found, you know, this to be of value and hopefully educational. But we're to the end of our hour, so if we want to finish on time, if anybody else has anything good for the cause, speak now, or we'll wrap it up.
Well, I will speak because I really appreciate Mike and Emily to joining us, coming here to Milwaukee, and doing this presentation. This has been really helpful to start communicating that we have some power, that we can engage the local communities and start doing some changes together. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Victor. I couldn't agree more. We think we can't make a difference, but honestly, if we engage and take some action, you guys would be surprised how much influence you can have on some positive outcomes here. So, yeah, thank you for having us, and hopefully we'll see you guys in person sometime down the road.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Bye now.
Thank you.